Okay. Welcome to episode 24 of Korea Talk, not 23. If you watched the previous episode, I said 22 by mistake. So welcome to episode 24. We're going to go over week 6 of the LCK, the champions, and go into depth on a few teams, and we have a few extra interesting topics near the end.
It
So
was
without
a
further ado,
was a, it was a great week. Like
Oh, it was very exciting
didn't
for
expect
what
it.
did not look to be so
Yeah.
good.
We're like, oh, there's gonna be one good series. Like, no, actually, there are a lot of good ones.
Yeah, there was like 4 good series, wasn't it? Bonkers, like yeah,
Mm,
high level week. Probably, I would say probably the best week of LCK we've had so far.
5, 6. There were 6 good series.
6 good series, yeah, there you go. I would say the best week of LCK we've ever seen.
I mean, SKT won Africa Free was maybe not good, but I mean, it was interesting.
So yeah, I wouldn't count that one as good. It was
It
interesting.
was
but
interesting.
I would not say that was good.
Yeah, maybe not good. No, but...
Not great play. But yeah, we'll get to there in time. Let's jump to KT Jin Air. The first game of the week was very interesting and was an upset from what we said.
Yeah.
So when I first watched this series, well, when coming into this series, I thought KT should realistically 2-0 this. I was like, yeah, they lost to SKT last week, but SKT are really good. At this point, I still thought SKT were really good, so I was like, well, SKT are really good. And so it doesn't really matter that KT lost. And Jin Air are good, but I thought Jin Air were kind of deceivingly good. Like they were kind of like worse than their standings showed, because at the time they were like 3rd or 2nd in the LCK. So I was like, yeah, this should be an open and shut 2-0 for KT. It wasn't, obviously. In the first game, Jin Air played like Jin Air, and they slowly strangled out KT. And then in the second game, KT made a bit of a comeback with a fun composition. But then the third game, like KT just got the fucking head caved in. Like, what the fuck was that?
The second game, they only won because, like, I mean, only one. They had such a good draft. At that point, that game was purely decided by draft because, like, the moment Someday got a bit ahead, like, nobody's going to kill that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just draft, but I think draft was a big part of the first and second game, where you saw KT have a really kind of poor draft where they weren't able to really team fight at all. And that was a huge issue with them near the late to end game, as they fell behind on Dragons and they were kind of forced to team fight and they weren't really able to. And then the second game, they had a great draft, and basically Jin Air had nothing to respond to the Rammus.
Yeah, like
no way to respond to that.
The thing I took away from Jin Air from this series is Jin Air are really, really good at picking early skirmishes and winning early skirmishes. Like, I think their skirmish game, like sort of 0 to 15 minutes, is really, really high, because they had like a kill lead in like nearly every game they played this week. Like, even against Tigers, they had kill leads at like 15 minutes and stuff like that. Like, I don't know quite what it is, but Jin Air like seem to be really smart about picking like really early fights and like understanding their early power spikes and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily think it's something so simple as like they just draft for the early game, because they win all their games at like 50 minutes. Like, it's like they're really weird. Like they'll get a lead at 15 minutes, then do nothing for 30 minutes, and then win the game. Like, it's the most kind of like bizarre team to watch. But like, I will say this, like Kuzan, for example, and his Lissandra, he really went off in that first game. Like, he played like fucking some baller-ass League of Legends.
His flanks were very spectacular, I have to say, for that.
Yeah.
He really changed how team fights went with Rick.
And like, coming into this split, we talked about this idea of like GBM's gone, like, you know, Jin Air are going to suffer, and at first their early wins were just coming purely from Trace, and it was like Trace is the one who's had to step up because his teammates aren't very good. I think now, like, really, maybe the entire of Jin Air, except for maybe Pilot, has kind of like collectively all stepped up, and collectively are all playing at a much higher level. Like, Kuzan for me is like the kind of the dark horse of mid laners. Like, nobody's talking about how well he's playing and stuff like that, but I think he is legitimately playing really fucking well right now. Like, he's, you know, he's obviously really putting in the hours in practice or whatever fucking thing he's doing, but he's proper playing good League of Legends right now.
Well, considering what we saw at IEM with Jin Air, I'd say the biggest disappointment from last year to this year is Pilot. Pilot was a legit carry last year, where he was given champions and he was able to carry the game, and now it seems like he doesn't even want to try and like engage. He seems like he wants to pull the immortal score without being good enough to weave in and out of the fights, where he's just like, I just want to fight.
I mean, he doesn't get caught often and stuff like that, and like he still manages to kind of like get away with a sliver of health in most fights, but I don't feel like he deals enough damage to kind of warrant that kind of a play style. Like, he needs to up it. He needs to up his damage but still have the safe positioning. Or because there are certain times where I feel like he could go for another auto attack and he chooses not to, kind of in like a panic mode. You know what I mean? Like I do think he's still a good player, but I do think that he probably is the weak link of that team right now.
Which is surprising. I mean, considering how bad Winged was last year when we saw him, and how bad he was coming into this year.
Like, weak link means he is doing something considerably bad. Like, yeah, he's not doing enough damage, but I don't think... I mean, as much damage as good, but he's still...
No, I don't mean weak link as in he is a bad player. I just mean that if there was the weakest player on the team, that would have to be him. Like, there's a weakest player on every team, you know what I mean? Like, even on the Tigers, there is a weakest player. So that's what I mean. Like if I said the rest of his teammates were like B to A tier, I would say he was like a sort of like high C tier player. That's what I mean, kind of thing. Like in terms of his standing to the best players at his position.
Yep.
And he looks good on Blue Ezreal, but like everyone looks good on Blue Ezreal. So.
Yeah.
I say if you don't look good on Blue Ezreal late game, you should just stop playing.
What else does he really shine on, kind of thing? Like.
Well, I mean, even last year he was really good at Corki, Ezreal, basically the champion that had the really good long ability to escape.
Yeah,
and then he had a few Kog'Maw games that he was very good at. But
historically, he's quite a good Twitch player as well. But obviously, Twitch is so far out of the meta right now that we don't see it. So,
well, he plays like super aggro champs in solo queue, and when he's not in like the tournament.
Yeah, I mean I watch him play solo queue a bit, and he's a bit more aggressive in solo queue, and he goes for it a bit more. That's why I think it maybe is a stylistic thing with Pilot, where like the coaches are telling him like he needs to play more passive and it needs to be sort of more like he needs to allow more kind of take a step back and allow Trace and Kuzan to carry rather than himself, because neither of those Jin aren't a team that peels for Pilot, kind of thing. Like you get the impression if he did try and go balls in, no one's going to bail him out of that situation. Like it's not like Trace is playing top lane Nautilus and Maokai or anything like that kind of thing. Like he's got to, so in that sense, he's got to play safe. But then he's still got Che like permanently on Alistar or Thresh to kind of help him out. So he could still play a little bit more aggro, I think.
Well,
I don't think there's that much of a champion pool diversity and support. We've pretty much seen Trundle, Thresh, Braum, Alistar, and Bard. I think those are the only 5 we've seen consistent.
Still not seen Soraka.
Not yet. Yeah.
And A we did, but yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I mean that's why I'm saying we haven't seen it in LCK yet. Whether we'll see it,
it's a very risky pick.
Yes. But I think the Jin right now look good, and I do think that this team probably is top 3 in Korea now. Like, how can we deny it really anymore? Kind of thing. Like,
there's no denying. Like they've beat so many good teams, except like Rocks and who they lost to as well. Like
they've beaten SKT.
They beat KT.
They've beaten KT. They lost to Samsung, but it was quite a close series overall.
That was also very boring. That was very
they lost to
Samsung and Jin so.
And they lost to Longzhu in week 1. So I can't really count the week 1 loss to Longzhu with sort of any level of credibility, because that was so long ago now. We're talking like 5 weeks. Now both those teams have changed dramatically since that first week, and obviously the meta's changed a lot as well. So realistically, they've lost to Tigers, who everyone's lost to, and they've lost to Samsung. That's it.
Yeah, I'm also really interested to see Jin how they'll adapt with patch changes, because they do seem to kind of really know this current patch and kind of are really able to abuse certain parts of it, which is something we saw Jin do last year. And then as soon as it started to change and it didn't really favor their current play style, they didn't adapt until it was way, way too late. And then they really didn't adapt until the patch, kind of like the everything kind of changed for Worlds, and they kind of adapted to that. But we're so far behind that they had no real chance to even make it to Worlds.
Yeah.
So a little scared on that, but they have definitely impressed. And this week, just the play against KT, and then going back and watching a couple other games they've played, they've really been an impressive team.
And what I do find interesting as well is that because there's substitutes that they have Sohwan in the top lane and Blank in the mid lane. Blank with a C, not with
the others.
Yep.
The other Blank, we haven't seen Blank play.
Mid lane Blank.
I do find it funny that like that Jitner seems to have used their substitutes as a way to motivate their main players to step up. Because Trace, in an interview, I think around week 4 or week 5, said that he didn't think that Sohwan and Blank were practicing enough, and he didn't think that they were hungry enough to play starting games, and then that's why they're not playing starting games. Because you got to remember, Trace is kind of like a sort of, A, he's the leader of that team, undisputed leader of that team, and B, he's kind of in a coaching player role as it is anyway. Like, you know, the Jin Air coaches and he himself have both said, like, oh yeah, originally the plan was I'd be in a sort of coaching player role, like the one that Shai's in right now, and that Sohwan would play most of the games, but Sohwan didn't play well enough in the few games we saw him, so he's just been like, fuck it, I'll step up and carry every game then. Like, so...
I also think he's old enough where he can say that. He's older than all the other players, so he can kind of say something like that you might not hear. A younger player might just be like, my teammates are great. Cheer for us and we'll show a good game. Like the generic stuff.
Well, he's the biggest veteran on that Jin Air team. You know, he's been with Jin Air since they started League of Legends. He's the only player of Hoon's Good Day and Eat Sleep Game to survive this long. So he kind of has a right to say stuff like that. But I did just find it interesting when he said that, like, these players aren't practicing enough, that's why they're not playing, kind of thing. Like, it's not something you hear Korean players admit about their teammates very often, is that they're not practicing enough.
We even hear great things about Hachani.
Yeah, like you ask most of the time, you ask a Korean player, you know, what's going on? It's like, oh, we're all practicing super hard and we're all doing this, and it's like, not always going to be practicing super hard, are you? Like, sometimes someone's going to be like, can't be bothered this week, just going to play for a bit and go fuck my girlfriend. See you later, mate. Like, but yeah.
So how about Hachani's play this week?
Oh my god!
That game 1, he certainly face checked and caused his team to be significantly behind that first game. Like, I wouldn't say that game was 100% his fault, but he made it, like, if they had a 20% chance of winning the game, he made it like to a 15. Like, he cut off a significant portion because of how quick it is.
Like, Hachani is terrible. He is absolutely terrible. I do not understand why KT are continuing to use him, because they put him in for the first game of every series as well. It's like he's the starter by default, and then when they inevitably lose a game, then they put in Ignar. Why don't you do it the other way around? See what happens then. Because Ignar seems to play pretty well in all his games, and he obviously gets a lot less practice with the team because the whole team bums Hachani. Maybe not the whole team does. Coaches clearly bum Hachani.
I don't know.
Yeah, I also don't think the Alistar was great with the Kog'Maw. I don't think he's the best support to go with Kog'Maw.
Yeah, so like
I don't get why you pick Kog'Maw in 6.8 in the first place, but
I will say,
well, they weren't the only ones. So.
Yeah, I know.
I will say that it's very exciting that Korean teams are picking Kog'Maw on the old patch, because obviously it gets so buffed on the new patch that it's like, well, how good are they going to be with it on the new patch, kind of thing. Like, is Kog'Maw going to become the new Twisted Fate, and we're going to see a whole split of it being 100% pick and ban kind of thing, like. Because, like, you know, if they're winning games with it, winning games with old Kog'Maw, what are they going to be doing with new Kog'Maw, kind of thing? Like, are they ever going to lose a game with new Kog'Maw? Like, you know, obviously,
considering how well, like, after Rox kind of pulled out like Kog'Maw beforehand when they did Juggermaw, and you started to see Kog'Maw pick up. There's a lot of 80 carries in the league that can play Kog'Maw pretty well, and if we've already seen before, there are a lot of teams that are not afraid to build basically completely around the 80 carry position. So I suspect we'll see a lot of Kog'Maw and a lot of comps built around him if he goes through the ban phase.
Like, there are certain champions that, like, I think all professional Korean players are pretty good at. So, like, Olaf is one of them. Lee Sin, like Victor is like the stereotypical Korean mid laner right now, kind of thing. I think Kog'Maw is probably the AD carry that all Korean AD carries can play pretty well. Like, so like, a bit of a tangent. There's a fun story about him early on his MVP days, where his positioning wasn't very good. So they could have just said, play Kog'Maw. So you play Kog'Maw for 2 days solid, and then he'd win every game on Kog'Maw, and they'd be like, right, now you can play like another champion. And they'd let him play the champion until he lost one single solo queue game, and they go right back on Kog'Maw for 2 days, kind of thing. So like, it's like that kind of thing. Like, I think they get him towards practice on Kog'Maw because it improves your positioning, and then they let him play like the Ezreal or the Corki and stuff like that. So I do think that when Kog'Maw hits Korean teams, like the proper full Kog'Maw, you're going to see, like, it's going to be, if you don't ban it against them, they will rip you to shreds with that champion. Like, it's not going to be like an LCS where the Kog'Maw face checks 3 Gragas barrels and Gangplank barrels and dies. Like, they're just gonna body you with it. Like, you ain't catching that Cogmore out. Like,
yeah, I think it'll be exciting for like the first few times we see it, because you're really gonna see teams pretty much once it gets picked, they're gonna have to pick a comp. Like, whoever picks it's gonna have to pick a comp of protect the Kog'Maw, and then you're gonna see the other team pick a dive the Kog'Maw comp, and you're gonna see some interesting back and forth between that. But after a while, I'm pretty sure it's gonna get real fucking boring.
oh yeah,
His ability in lane with just maxing the W real quick is really stupid.
yes, it's not the most fun thing.
Has like no downtime either.
The other thing I would say about the series as well is Someday didn't play.
Yeah.
He played terribly.
Someday has a really bad week.
Like, there was that point in where he tried to dual trace, but he like face checked as Quinn and died.
What? It wasn't really dueling. He just got caught out.
Yeah.
Well, it was even some of his blanks were really poor.
Yeah, and like some of his and then like the one game he looked pretty good on was on the Rammus, but then like later in the week he died and he like got solo killed by Untara's Poppy as Rammus kind of thing. So it was like he
tried to hold flash.
Yeah, like considering we think of Someday as like the second best top player in the world, it was not a good showing from him. Like,
no, not at all.
And I think that's indicative of KT's current issues, is that Score and Someday, they're kind of their 2 biggest players, haven't really been showing up. Fly had actually pretty decent games, decent play.
In this series, he played okay, yes.
Yeah.
And his own issues later in the week, but in this series he played all right.
But Hachani's just been such a bag of garbage for so long that I don't think we should ever be expecting him to do super significant great things. But yeah, Someday definitely having an off week. Anything else about KT or Janair before we move on?
Not right now.
No, not that I can think of. Not really, no.
As we said last week, we were suspecting that if Janair could even win 2 games, 1 versus KT and 1 versus Rox, they'd have a pretty good week. Even knowing that they got completely stomped by Rox, they won and they did pretty great because they took KT. And then we had the team we didn't really talk about, CJ, who, even though they lost 2 games this week, looked really good, and they took 1 game off of Samsung and 1 game off of KT.
Mm-hmm.
And both games, like they've been, even their losses, they've been playing decent to pretty good. So what do you guys think of Samsung versus CJ?
So I mean, to talk about CJ Entus first off, I think that CJ Entus, like, their improvement kind of shows, like, I think last year we didn't have a very high opinion of Reach as a coach because of how poor Najin looked at times and how they mismanaged their talent and stuff like that. I think so far Reach has kind of really redeemed himself as a coach, because you've seen that, like, collectively the entire roster of CJ Entus kind of improve individually as it's gone on. And it's like, this isn't even CJ Entus' final form, really. Like, CJ Entus still have, players on the bench that they, quite clearly want to start. Like, they still have BDD, still have Ghost, and they still have now Daydream as well. So it's like they're doing well with their, like, B players. Like, what happens when they bring in those A players that they really want to use? Like, how much better is the CJ Entus roster going to get? Now, I'm not sure if they should play Ghost over Kramer. I think they should experiment it with a bit, but Kramer's playing really well. And I think there's a lot to be said about, like, Kramer and Madlife's ability to, like, hard carry a game is kind of sort of, like, quite unique and quite impressive. But I think that CJ Entus, like, their improvement is showing the strength of their coaching staff, at least, kind of thing, because they look better each week. Their team fighting as well is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue clearly is their mid laner, and that, just watch game 1. Like, watch the first 5-10 minutes of game 1, and you'll understand how desperately they need BDD.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that game 1 was just crown. As Monty and Doa like to call it now, the Crown Fiesta.
Yeah.
It was.
Dude just fucking dominated completely, and that game was so over after the second solo kill.
Sky looks all right on Corki. that's about it.
Yeah, but Corki is oppressive as fuck.
Yeah, so everyone looks good on Corki. So
Crown still looks. I mean, Crown is a beast right now.
Yeah. But as we talk about Samsung, like, I mean, this is another team that's improved a lot. As you've seen individual improvements kind of across the board, except for like Wraith, who was always pretty good. Ambition doesn't look completely terrible anymore. He has some games where he
does something in games.
Yeah, he does some stuff once in a while. It's pretty nifty out of him.
My issue there is that he'll do some stuff, but the next game he'll just be like, "Oh yeah. I'm just gonna farm for 20 minutes, guys."
Oh, yeah, like
Ambition is still a big problem for the team.
Still a big problem, but I think Samsung's macro looks good enough that I don't know whether I can entirely attribute that to Ambition, but you've got to at least attribute a bit of it to him, considering Samsung players were like, yeah, he's sorted out all our macro problems. So he definitely.
I think he's definitely got a great voice there, and he's definitely an asset to the team there. I just think if they fall behind early, or get pressured early, they're gonna get destroyed. And luckily for them, there's only like one jungler in Korea that will do that to you, and his team is gonna mess you up anyways.
Well, there's a couple of teams now that a couple of the other junglers have managed to step up now, but
depends on LZ's jungler.
Yeah.
Sometimes Chaser's just like, yo, I'm gonna pull an Ambition and go farm for 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, the Chase played really well this week, so got to stay hopeful about the Chaser. But I think Samsung have a very particular way they play around League of Legends. Like there's like a couple of picks Cuvée always wants to play. He generally wants to play Lissandra or Poppy. Those are generally the picks he kind of seems to default to. And then like Ambition generally wants to play like Graves. It seems to be his sort of go-to champion. And then it's like realistically it's Crown sort of bodying every game, which is surprising because it's like Samsung play League of Legends like CJ Entus did last year, where they rely on their mid laner hard carrying.
I think Cuvée a bit better than Shy was this year. His Lissandra is legitimately just like really, really good.
It's more that Crown is much stronger and often like body slaying, but he still has a lot of help from the rest of his team. Like the rest helps with the macro.
Well, I mean, it's very similar, other than space. Because I mean, Mad Life was still pretty good. Coco was the hardest carry. Shy was declining, but I guess Cuvée is a bit opposite of that.
Yeah, Cuvée is good.
And then you had Ambition, really doesn't do much, and the AD carries are a bit better than space. I mean, they look like a little bit better.
They're like that's what I mean, like a sort of upgraded CJ.
I mean, Stitch can play more than at least Stitch has a big Jabber pool.
Well, it's not just Stitch, but
Core JJ carried
and that as well. They have like two okay-ish carries.
I haven't seen either of them do like neither of them has really wowed you, but neither of them has really been like, wow, they can't play him because he's doing XYZ really poorly. So.
Yeah. They've got the nightmare scenario, and you've got two players at the same position. They both play quite a similar role. They both play similar champions, but they both perform very similar level. Which one do we actually put in? Like, that's where they just rotate it.
Maybe if is it Ghost for CJ? If Ghost shows up and he's really good, maybe they can they can try and pick up Kramer.
No, I don't know.
I don't see that happening because I don't see CJ letting that go.
Yeah,
but
CJ's not gonna like him.
The only Korean players never really leave teams mid-contract for other teams because because Korean teams don't want to spend money buying out contracts. Like, all got shoestring budgets. They ain't spending money. They don't have to.
It's still like I don't know. Still hopeful that maybe that there's a chance that could happen because that'd be really really cool to see. I mean, other than game one, which was pretty stompy, game two.
Game two was just the Lissandra
Mad Life.
Yeah, Mad Life. Yeah, so, there was a whole funny thing about the whole series. Like, yeah, Mad Life banned Bard, and then game two they did, and like game three, like, yeah, okay, let's ban the Bard again. Let's not give Mad Life Bard. Like, Mad Life's been like on a revival of his career. This split.
Yeah, he carries on that Bard champion so hard, like it's ridiculous. Like it's like back to his kind of Blitzcrank days, which is funny because Bard looks a bit like Blitzcrank in terms of his portrait, and it also starts with B as well. So maybe that's where the skill comes from.
Yeah.
But no, like I think Mad Life and like the best players on that CJ Enter's team right now is obviously like Kramer and Mad Life, and that's where they're carrying.
And if Intero gets Poppy, it's also pretty good. So
yeah, and then Luntaro wants to play Poppy every game he can, and he kind of like I think that's where they're sort of their carry, which is they're the only team I think that played like specifically around their bot lane in Korea right now, and There's always
SKT.
Yeah.
Not in the same way though.
They've had some
insanely
pretty
much.
big games where it's either bang carries or they don't do anything.
That's true. But yeah, I think CJ Enter's are an exciting team to watch right now, and I do think this CJ Enter's roster has a lot higher of an upside than the one did last year. Although the one they had last year was doing a lot better at this point in the year. It's like the one last year, you always knew it was going to run.
Yeah,
out
but it was because last year Korea was shit. Like
Yes.
Korea's way better right now, and CJ looks like this. CJ looks like pretty. I'm looking up into that.
Yeah, it's like then the one they had last year, like you knew it was going to run out of steam. It's just like some of the veteran presence on that team managed to kind of meant they had good shot calling and that kind of thing. Now the new CJ Entus has lost a little bit of shot calling, but has gained kind of more potential upside. So I think the CJ Entus roster, as we go forward into the year, like there's a chance this CJ Entus roster could make worlds if they just all the players continue to improve at the same rate, and you know they might manage to sneak it through.
And if Daydream is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really depends on.
I don't think Bubbling is going to do anything, and Sky neither. But if they're
It really depends on seeing how BDD plays and if Daydream can come back to being a good player, because he really had a tough time even when he left. This was not great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean they don't have any more games, right? They're done.
CJ.
No, they have to play EN Fire next week.
Oh, another win for CJ.
Yeah, so CJ can go out on a high note.
I mean, they have one game left, and then after that, when does BDD turn old enough? Which is still fucking ridiculous that he has to be old enough, considering some of the age the StarCraft players originally started at.
Yeah, I mean, I had a tweet about that. But
oh, so that was you? Okay, I didn't remember who it was, but yeah.
I look at BDD's age all the time. So it's March the 1st, 1999. Jesus Christ, I remember the year.
His first. Okay, so yeah,
so that's
when
the next part, second. Sport.
When the next part begins, do you think they're going to play Daydream right away over Bubbling?
I think they'll definitely give him a few series. At worst, they'll do the thing where they they'll put Bubbling in, Bubbling loses, put in Daydream, see how Daydream gets on. That's the worst case scenario what they'll do. I bet, so I do think they wouldn't assign Daydream if they don't plan on playing him, you know what I mean? Like, they're not don't have infinite money, they don't want to spend money they don't have to pay. Like, they get.
That's true.
People don't seem to get this. Like, CJ enters, in terms of the size of the CJ sponsor, probably like the second biggest sponsor in Korea after SK Telecom, and the budget they have to work with is very high. But it's not like the company executives go, here's infinite money, spend how you want it to spend. They go, there's a very specific budget you have, spend this budget exactly as you want to spend it. And then based on how teams are performing, they can ask for a bit more money. So they'll have specifically either gone to the executives and said, we want more money to sign this second jungler. And then they'll have to pitch in that way, which means, because there's a limited esports budget as well, and they have to fund a StarCraft 2 team up as well. So
it's not like TSM where they have one team they really care about, and then the other esports, they're kind of like, well, we're in there just to, because we're there.
Yeah, so
make some money first.
So like Reach or somebody in the CJ Entus, will have gone to the CJ executives and the shareholders and been like, need more money, and they'll be like, all right, you can have an extra X amount a year to pay to get Daydream, and they'll, so yes, it's not like they have infinite money just to sign as many fucking players as they want. They'll be definitely using it.
Yeah, I think that'll be the interesting part to see. I think BDD should do at least, like, by himself, he should be able to do well. I don't know how well he's going to work with the team, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of tries to hard carry a lot often to begin with, and then kind of has to go through a bit of a refining phase. But I wouldn't be too surprised I wouldn't be surprised to see him make some big plays. But it'd be very interesting to see Daydream and how well he plays.
Yeah, because Daydream could be good or he could be total shit.
Or he could either be Daydream in like the times where we saw him actually do well, or the Daydream when he kind of left and when he went to Brazil, right?
Well, no,
he went to Brazil.
I always say this, but in the split before he left CJ Entus, he played horrendous. Like,
oh yeah.
So it's such a big question mark around him as a player.
So on to the next game we had. We had on Thursday's games. we had SKT LZ with I would say a surprise 2-0 for LZ. I would say a surprise simply because if there's one team you don't expect 2-0, it's LZ.
You both don't expect LZ to 2-0 somebody, and you don't expect SKT
to be 2-0.
to get 2-0'd, because SKT getting whitewashed is like, even in their biggest slumps when they were SKT 1K, and even when they were like, even when Piglet couldn't do a single thing, and Bengi was a literal walking dumpster and all that kind of thing, they still managed to take like a game off Samsung White and stuff like that. Like, there's been very few series where SK Telecom have lost in a complete whitewash. Like, it generally doesn't happen. They generally manage to win a game. So the fact that LZ managed to 2-0 SKT with objectively their B lineup as well was very surprising.
Yeah, but Chaser.
Well, it was also nice to see the B lineup perform.
Yeah, Chaser was really good in this. He finally looked a bit like Chaser of old.
Yeah, Chaser played so well. He played really, really well.
I think game 1 they were able to really just prevent SKT's comp from really doing anything. They had a lot of really good early game pressure. Pure was absolutely a monster the first 2 minutes of the game, preventing SKT from starting their jungle. Just straight up beast mode, I would say.
Yeah, and it's like LZ just did that sort of like win lane, win game kind of thing, because they did win lane in both series, both games rather, and they did just kind of manage to snowball that. I will say that like comeback SKT had in the end of game 1, that then that kind of shows how stupid the meta is right now, because they won one team fight and then nearly win the entire game off winning one team fight, despite the fact they were down like 7K.
If they hadn't overcommitted, they probably would have still won that game though. So they were strong.
Oh yeah, if they didn't try and end it,
they would have won.
They all stacked trying to kill the Nexus, and Kog'Maw got like 4 free auto attacks and just burned them down.
And I'll tell you how kind of stupid this meta is: the fact that a team is able to just win a single team fight, and then they're suddenly not only back into the game, but they've got a commanding position to win the entire game with. It's like, oh, so the first 30 minutes were completely pointless, really. Like,
it's more that double AD carry just scales so well, so you have to deal with that fact. And
long as we were playing a team without a true tank as well, which obviously is problematic in that aspect. Like,
best scoreline though for Coco, 0-1-0.
I'm not even sure how you do that.
Because the one death he had was near the end, and he wasn't involved in the kills because he would.
I do remember his game wasn't bad, but he just didn't do anything with his ults offensively. He just pushed a lot.
Yeah,
it was mostly Chase just controlling that game early. Which was
it was, as long as you didn't win through sort of ganking SK players over, they just out rotated them and out pushed them on.
Yeah.
Which is almost worse for SKT, is the fact that they just kind of rolled over. Like, they didn't really fight to stop losing, they didn't really fight for the win in either game. They just kind of rolled over and let SK.
Oh yeah, definitely game 2. Like the deer pick did nothing in both games.
That to me says there's problems with the SKT lineup, is that they're just rolling over. They're not even sort of fighting their way to try and win these games. They don't even look like they really want to win. They just kind of obviously they want to win, but there seems to be some kind of personality conflicts on that team, which is causing the atmosphere to be low, which is causing them to just play very sort of ugh. They look like, if I had to describe their, we do a face expression, that's how they look when they play. I think. They're just going through the motions, really.
It was also very surprising to watch Bengi build both games. He was going for Spirit Visage and Frozen Heart instead of what I think they talked about in the cast, is that pretty much what we've seen, and kind of the whole hype Udyr was about building Zerat's Portal.
They can't build this.
And they can't build Zerat?
No.
I thought they were able to, because you really to get the bug, you have to really do it.
Yeah, that works fine in LCS, not in Korea.
Yeah, in Korea, Kindred is also still banned.
That makes the Udyr even more questionable.
Kindred's still banned, played in LCS all the time. They don't have the team banners in the base. They have those in LCS. Considering the LCK is, and is they have the same problem in LPL, considering they're the most watched leagues in the world, they actually get the least support from Riot, kind of thing. they don't show League of Legends. They don't show like they get like a watered down version of the spectator version, and they don't get the same champion choices and that kind of thing. Do you ever want an example of how Riot totally cares more about the NALCS broadcast than the other than the global leagues? Just look at that. Like European LCS gets those things because it's the same people that run it. That's it. Like don't have them in the LMS as well.
But I mean, if they couldn't build that, that makes the Udyr pick even more questionable.
Well, it's still good. It's just Bengi did not play well.
Yeah, he didn't play well. I mean, but the whole idea is that it's really abusable once you get those. You can put up a ridiculous split push and then move quickly back to the team. I think that's the bigger threat you get from that. And both games, they were heavily pushed away by Captain Jack and Pure on game 2 and Pure game 1, or in the really early beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And they never were able to really take off at that point.
It's also disappointing that because SKT didn't fight in the laning phase, they just kind of rolled over in every laning phase, which meant that they don't get me wrong, Chaser played really well, but Bengi played terribly. So Bengi made it really easy for Chaser to carry, and then
Bengi and Wolf are both really bad.
Yeah.
Like Wolf, I don't know how many times he ulted defensively to escape from death, and it was just like, well, he's their main engage. How else are they going to get into a team fight without him flash QWing someone into the team?
Yeah. And the worst part is Wolf got his Alistair, which is, the champion he's best on in both games, and he looked terrible on it in both games. It's like, what is your upside here? It's not, I could just about give him the benefit of the doubt if he got like a ban and then he had to play something else, but he was playing the best support in the game and still couldn't do anything with it. And that's what I mean. SKT didn't look like right? Obviously they wanted to win, but I'm just saying they didn't look like they wanted to win. They didn't look like they had that kind of that burning drive of I have to win the game right now kind of thing that you see from a lot of sort of Korean teams. I only say, obviously they look like they want to win because somebody's going to be like, well, obviously they want to win. They're a professional team. Yes.
No. I don't know, it's really, really weird to see the mistakes they make and how it kind of falls apart.
Yeah. I don't know what's causing this SKT kind of collapse because the players are still really good across the board. Obviously I harp on Bengi and Wolf. I still think they're really good players, and obviously they've had really successful careers. So, it's not like they're totally terrible. This is still mostly the lineup that completely dominated LCK for the entire more like 2/3 of last year. The tail end of spring and then the entirety of summer and then Worlds. They only didn't really do well in the first 2/3 of spring last year. So this is still a really good team. It's just that, part of me thinks it's that because it's not a curse. This World Championship is not a curse. It's not a curse when you win the World Championship, you automatically fail on the next one. It's more like the players are more likely to become relaxed and care less about putting in those insane practice hours and wanting to be the best because in their back of their minds, I've gone, well, I've already won Worlds. You know what I mean? It's natural to relax a little bit when you've just already done that for you. You get burnt out. You know what I mean? It happens to everybody. So
see, I think I would put that more onto maybe Wolf than Bengi. Bengi just seems to not have a champion pool at the moment, and that's the huge issue. Is that he's never played the aggressive ones. Where we're like, Wolf, this is his champion pool.
Yeah.
He gets to play big old tanky guys where he does the small mistake doesn't cost him for the entire life.
Yeah, we've never thought of Wolf as an amazing Nami or something like that kind of thing.
And he's the more surprising issue is that he's in the heart of where he's really been shown on the champions. He's been good and he still can't pull it out.
Yeah, and the other issue as well, it can get a bit better for SKT because the next patch, obviously Gragas is back, and it's the same for KT as well. Is the fact that Bengi's historically a pretty good Gragas player, and so it can get better for them on the next patch. And then if they can get bang onto Cogmore as well, and the Cogmore ban against them on certain sides will alleviate pressure away from Faker, so maybe Faker can get some more of his champions, and if they can, and if SKT can play like they did against KT, then they can look better as well. But they didn't play as well as they did against KT, and Longzhu played better than KT did. You know what I mean? So this is how the game was so one-sided. Was Longzhu played really well and played the best League of Legends we've ever seen them play by a country mile. But SKT did, and it's not like SKT only lost to Longzhu as well. They did lose that series to Africa Freaks as well, which is a series they should absolutely never lose. That should never happen. I don't think they've ever lost a series to a team that bad.
That was a real problem.
We'll get there. But I mean,
in fact, have SKT ever lost a series to a team that bad before?
No, the last they've lost, I think they lost both games last time in summer to Africa. They won 2-1 both times, I believe. They dropped one game.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've ever lost to a team that bad.
When they needed the win as well. This is the thing. It's not like they didn't need to win this. They really needed the win because if you look at the standings right now, SKT aren't even making playoffs.
Nope, they're the sixth. They're the one looking in. Because there's like 6 teams now that are doing really well. Yeah. And then there's CJ right on the nipping at the heels, waiting for a couple new pickups to fall into place. And then SKT has to, in the second half of the season, win their way back into playoffs.
So if it was still an 8-team league, SKT would be third from bottom.
Yep.
What the hell is that all about? Dire times.
Bad meta, players not playing as well either.
Yeah.
I mean that's you have both factors.
The individual skill looks lower across the board as well. It's not just a case of that. Like players getting caught out. Players are like there was a point where Duke got ganked by Chaser, and he was saying on like 1.5k gold. Go back, like Saint Solo Q. Like you're saying on that much gold. Go back and buy an item, kind of thing. Like. He then pushed up, despite that it didn't even have a tower to protect, and just got popped immediately. Went back and bought like a phage and like another item as well. It's like, how are you sitting on that much gold and not buying?
Yeah, it really is surprising. But remember, Marin wasn't the only one that was shot calling for that team, according to certain SKT players.
They always say that, don't they? Yeah.
Right.
I don't believe it's entirely. Yeah, I don't believe it's entirely due to Marin leaving. I think this is kind of would have happened because Marin.
I don't think it is either. But
either. Like,
oh no, I don't think Marin's been playing well. But I think Marin is not playing well because he doesn't have the same vision support he's used to. But Duke still it's week 6. He still doesn't seem to be completely 100% into the system that SKT has.
Yeah.
He seems to have certain teleports, or he's not always on time, or plays he goes not 100% with the team, which is weird to see from them.
Yeah.
Any Korean team. I mean, pretty much every Korean team has pretty good teleports. And there's certain times where you're like, wow, that one was really bad, and then that player will still have other good ones within the game. I mean, Mickey's had some decent teleports, and then he's had some. I teleported in. I ate I ate all of Corky's burst, and then was at 10 HP and got insta killed by one auto attack.
Yeah, but we don't expect that from lower tier teams. So no, like, SKT could get better with the next patch, and they really need to because right now, like, if this carries on, no chance they're making Worlds. Absolutely none.
I'm more of World. I think you're looking way too far for Worlds. I'm more afraid that it's more than just the meta, because I feel like, well, yeah, Wolf is definitely like individually just underperforming, and everything like their comms are constantly try to run just don't seem to ever work out in any like way. I don't ever see an upside in their comms, and they constantly pushing Fake on Lulu, which is okay, but I don't see the picks you want with Lulu to actually have a very effective comm. They just pick Lulu because Fake is going to Lulu, but then like have some random stuff that doesn't work very good with Lulu, or expect they expect things to happen from the other players that they're not happening with the Lulu picks and stuff. It's
the other issue as well is like in Faker's like Lich Bane rushing Lulu build, like I think that's kind of getting exploited a bit because his dueling prowess is a lot lower with that build. It's for pushing turrets and that kind of thing. And I think that's what's causing him to kind of like it's not even good at pushing the wave. It's literally good at chipping down the turret. So I think certain teams are learning to play around that better as well. So really, I want to see Faker play more carry champions. That's what I want to see him do. Like, why is he always just playing Lulu? You know,
I think the Africa game is where they really exploited the Lulu a bit. I mean, he did well on that game, but they really took away his blue and prevented him from being able to push as often.
Yeah.
But so next series is EM Fire Africa. The only interesting thing to note is that Kongdu? EM Fire is now after week 7 they'll be known as Kongdu Monsters. So for week 8 they'll be known as the Kongdu Monsters. They have one game left as EM Fire.
Are they still playing games as EM Fire?
I believe they're playing the last game this week as EM Fire, and then they'll be Kongdu Monsters as of the second half of the split.
No, they said next week already going to be Kongdu Monsters.
Oh, okay.
That's what I heard after the last game.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the series because it was a fucking...
No, we're not talking anything else about that.
But just to give you an idea, so coming into this year, Najin wanted to sell their LCK spot, much like many teams across the world want to sell their professional team spot when they no longer feel it's in their financial incentives to run a professional team. They originally were going to be bought out by Kongdu. Now, Kongdu is a player agency that has a few, it's like a talent agency as far as I'm aware. Again, I'd love it if somebody would tell me exactly what Kongdu is because I have very limited information and I want to bug people all the time. Kongdu is some kind of an agency that has certain Brood War players on the roster. So realistically, I'm not even sure if Kongdu is giving EM Fire more money. I just think they might just be handling the management side of things. So before Najin took away their own brand, so it's not Najin EM Fire, it's now just EM. It was just EM Fire, but it was still the Najin management that were looking after the team, making sure they had, housing and got food every day, that kind of thing. I now think Kongdu have actually taken over that responsibility and now own the spot. But I don't think but it's the same sponsors, and I'm not sure EM Fire are actually getting more money than they were beforehand either. So I don't know exactly what it means, and it's not like Kongdu are a company with a lot of income or anything like that. So I also don't get excited and think this means that they're going to be able to sign much bigger players and stuff like that. It's not like Longzhu sponsoring IM or something like that. This is very much, I think this is just a management change and a rebranding to fit that. I also think they wanted to do the rebranding so they weren't associated with Najin anymore which I guess makes sense, So yeah, just to give you a bit of an idea.
That's interesting, but there's nothing else interesting about that series. So moving on, KT CJ, where once again CJ was able to pull out a game 2 win, and then lose another game.
Even in the first game they won, KT lost a team fight when they had like a 10k gold advantage. Why is that happening? You've got a 10k gold lead and you're losing team fights.
I would kind of say because they have Ashe AD carry. I just don't get. I don't get it. I don't get what interesting about it. Doesn't seem to do as much damage as other champions. The only other ADs that were banned were Corki, but he's more of a mid laner at this point, and Callista. Like, there's definitely champions he could have played over Ashe.
But part of it was that, but then part of it is just like when I saw them lose that 10k gold, like to lose the team fight with 10k gold advantage around the Dragon Pit, I was like, am I watching the LPL? Like, what the hell is this? Like, you shouldn't be like, if a team fight, like the team fight was close, but they still lost it. That kind of a gold lead. Like, now granted, CJ's team fighting is pretty good right now, and it's very good for a team of their level. But this is what I'm talking about. KT's team fighting does not look good, and this is KT have like. They have almost the same issues that SKT have, but the difference is they didn't have a crazy year last year. So it's not like the players get to relax and be like, oh, I'm a bit vacation mode now, won Worlds last year, chill out, maybe have sex with some women or whatever. Like, no, you've still got to practice loads, you've still got to try and win stuff. Like, you just finally made it to Worlds and you made top 8. That's not, let's have a relaxing year next year kind of thing. That's, let's buckle down and practice more. So I don't understand why KT are dropping the ball as well. And it's like the players themselves pick like weird individual moments to underperform as well. So it's like in some games, someday looks all right and Fly looks terrible, and then Fly will look all right and someday will look terrible. Like, and then Score will kind of go like looking good to looking like mediocre. Like, there's no consistency. there's no consistency across the board. What did you say, sorry, Peter?
No, so how China looks bad every game, so
Yeah, yeah.
if to deal
That's
with
like,
that. And then Arrow is Arrow. So.
and Arrow looks like Arrow every game. Like, what is this team?
Not only that, but game 2 it was like, oh, you picked Rammus again, but this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because there was magic damage.
There's only 180 carry.
And
like it worked against generic because there were multiple 80 carries that you could taunt and pretty much make them kill themselves against you. Where it's like you're playing against Lysandra and Graves and Callista.
And Callista is very good against Rammus.
Callista's going to build at least one lifesteal item anyways, and then she'll build a second one.
Build 3
because I would say you're going to build a second lifesteal weapon item because Rammus is in the game.
Yeah, and you don't need to go with the crit items on her, so it's so much easier to itemize the armor penetration and lifesteal.
And also because a lot of the damage comes out the rend, it's not like the reflective damage kind of really murders Callista.
No,
like it would. You know what? Because the Rammus pick works in Korea, you will inevitably see it pop up all over the world, and you inevitably see it being misplayed by countless LCS teams, as is always the way. I think back to Rengar in Season 4 and stuff like that. You will see Rammus be misplayed a lot by teams. I do not expect Rammus to be misplayed by the team that pioneered the Rammus top lane pick in the first place.
Yeah, the same player.
The same.
It wasn't even just misplayed. It was this. It was like, why are you picking it now?
He got solo killed on Rammus as well.
Oh,
Sunday does not get solo killed.
When Toro looks like
solo killed.
That was totally cocky out of him. But I mean, not only there were a lot of other issues with that game too. But it just walking into it was like, I don't get the Rammus pick. Like even if they had a third 80 carry, I'd have been like, okay, Callista may not be the most like none of the 80 carries are going to do that much reflective damage. But the fact that there's 3 of them and you get to build armor against 3 of them is the big benefit. And you just have it was so random and dumb. And then you had Hachani and Arrow just not playing well.
Yeah. KT can't rely on their bot lane to carry, so they have to rely on their solo lane and their jungle to perform well. Fly has moments where he looks pretty good and moments where he looks terrible. I'll say this about Nagne. Nagne was more consistent. Nagne consistently played at Nagne was like the same player every game. He always had the same level. He occasionally got shit on in lane. That wasn't Nagne's fault. He never was particularly a good laner, except on like Gragas and the end of Season 3. That was when he was like great at lane. But like Nagne was never a particularly good laner. He was good in team fights. Fly looks better in lane typically, but he sometimes just plays those team fights terribly. Like I don't even know. At the start of the split, I was like, Fly's an upgrade over Nagne. No doubt about it. Now, I'm not even sure. Like, call Nagne back, see if he still wants to come and play for a bit. Like, at least rotate them out a little bit or something. Ridiculous.
And yeah, game 3 was, I would say, in its own way, disappointing. It was so unbelievably long.
It was insane.
It was
a lot. Like, I could just wish Greymore would have not played Quinn. Would have been. I mean, it did stuff. But it's just not great if you have to actually. I mean, they need Kramer to carry the game, and it's just not great late game to win team fights. Like it, it's too much work, and it's not that great. I mean, you want something that can like do a lot of damage and then die with the Zillion ult and then come back. But Quinn is just you're good in flying in, doing some damage, engaging, and picking off people. You're not good at doing a consistent amount of damage during a team fight and DPSing everybody down around you. That's not really her job. But yeah, and then was unlucky, and that's a sad ending. But yeah, somebody had so much gold. Even at that
was
point,
also
Gangplank is useful.
So surprising to see the like turret trading and everything, considering they picked top Morgana, and it was like, oh, so you do know this. Oh, sorry, the wrong game.
No, but here's a question for you. KT someday has looked good on Gangplank.
Is it horrible on Gangplank?
What champions is someday right now like amazing on?
Oh yeah.
I would still think his Fiora is good, but he doesn't play it. So.
His Fiora is pretty good. His Poppy's not too bad. I don't think his Poppy is like amazing.
Because
his Poppy is serviceable.
Because like you always compare him to Smeb because that's the player he should be competing against. Smeb picks any champion he wants to and bodies every game.
Oh God, yes.
Smeb, like, he doesn't have a bad champion, you know what I mean? He's got that ability. same as Gorilla, like, but Gorilla only has to play Alistair right now because of the way that I work. Smeb plays anything and he bodies everyone up. Someday picks stuff and sometimes looks shit on it. What is going on with Someday? Like, Someday last year had the same thing as Smeb, where he picked champions and did really, really well with them in the lane. Sometimes didn't do amazing in team fights and stuff like that, but he always showed up in the lane, kind of thing. Like, now he's not even doing that. He's I can't just enough. Someday doesn't get solo killed. Like, even when he was like a Renekton one-trick pony, he had that game where he solo killed Acorn 11 times in lane or something like that. Like he doesn't get solo kill. So why is he getting so? Like, it was the most cocky thing I've ever seen. Like, with like 200 health, uses the defensive ball to walk into the middle of the minion wave, so he can't even power ball his way out and just gets destroyed. Like, what are you doing? Like, wake up someday, please.
Holds his flash too, even though Poppy has such a small, like, that Q is such a small radius.
Hmm.
It was very, very disappointing. I mean, we talked about CJ and KT already. CJ looking like they've really surprised almost everyone and really playing actually pretty well, punching above their weight for what was expected of them. And it seems like KT, SKT are kind of hitting the rocks as it goes, without making that pun intended. They're really kind of falling apart as we see Jin Air, Samsung, and even LZ. I mean, they only played one game this week, but they were able to finally come together and look like a team against SKT, which is
yes.
worrying. If you're SKT and KT, you don't just get to be like, hey, we have a good enough players that we're gonna get one, like, top 2, top 3 at least,
they
because there's
easily
no other teams.
5-6 now. Like,
yeah. We could very realistically end up in a scenario at the end of the split where either SKT or KT does not make playoffs.
Well, the top 6 doesn't make playoffs, so, right?
Nope. It's just, I believe it's just the top 5.
Top 5.
Yep. 5-4.
Again, LCK is unique in the aspect that it's actually only the 5 teams that make play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than
More like terrible.
It's only 5 teams make playoffs, so the 6th, 7th, and 8th don't get relegated, and they don't go into relegation. They don't make playoffs either.
Yeah.
If the current playoff format stands, which I have heard nothing that it will change. But then they could just do an LPL where they change it like within a couple of 2 weeks.
I hope they do.
Change
I don't
the
give a shit. I don't give a shit what format they change it to. Anything is better than the garbage they have right now.
Just bust out a ball of 2 double elimination, best of 5 system.
If they do the ladder the way it is now, and they do double elim.
In fact, what they could do, that I'd be totally happy with this, is they could get Korean teams to skip MSI completely. Let the other teams pretend like they're relevant. Some big baller-ass long playoffs in LCK. I'd be totally happy with that.
Everybody has to play against each other like twice.
Like
you do
Clyde
top 6. No, do top 6. 1, 2, or 1 and 2 are automatic.
That's just LCS, man.
1, 2, 3, 4 play each other. Like 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. And then losers drop down to play 5 and 6, and then they play. Like, so you have double elimination bracket.
But why would you not do the?
Because you put 5 and 6. You put 5 and 6 already in elimination. So if they lose,
okay.
Yeah, so because they're lower, if they lose the first best of 3 or best of 5, they're already automatically out.
5.
Or you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 play. Like, they're gonna play. The winners of those play each other. And then you have
they have guaranteed
those,
chance at least one best of. Yeah.
I think that'd be way better.
Be cool.
It's
already an improvement.
Yeah, and you know what? Korean teams could skip MSI, so some other team could pretend like they're relevant, and then everyone's happy. The League of Legends fans finally get to watch a tournament where Koreans don't win it automatically. It's not called IEM Worlds in 2015, and. Yeah, obviously that's not going to happen. But
sadly,
we can dream.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Kespa. I'm open to taking little to no money for that idea, and by little to no, I mean none at all. If you actually implement it.
What a hero of esports! It just gives out ideas. Doesn't want
just want to see some goddamn good games.
You are the hero esports deserves,
but it doesn't want.
Yeah, one doesn't know that it doesn't know it exists.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it is. I'm the superhero that shows up and they're like, "Who the fuck are you?" It's like, God damn it.
The Batman of New Hampshire.
I think we have one of those already, though.
Take 6 hours to get to New York in order to try and save crime. Gets there, I've got to go home in 20 minutes, so I'm come across a robbery real quick, unless I've got to go back. Like, I'm gonna get some sleep at some point. Maybe he saves like a gas station along the way from getting held up at gunpoint.
Well, if I'm going to save a gas station from gunpoint, I really need to go far. I mean, you're not going to get many more guns than you do where I live. So moving on, we've got Jin Air versus Rock's Tigers. Rock's pretty much comprehensively, completely destroyed them.
Yeah.
I mean, the first game was a bit long, was a bit more even, but
yeah, you're playing some.
They really didn't stand much of a chance.
No, they got destroyed.
And holy shit, Winged, what the fuck was he doing top lane? He got completely first blooded for no reason because he was literally by himself where 4 other people were.
So there was a good Reddit comment about this series that I think kind of summed it up, which was, and I'll read it. It's by a user called Salty Nips with 3 S's. So shout out to that massive name there. And it says, you make a play, punished. You don't make a play, punished. You punish us, punished. Like, it's like this idea, like, there's no point in that where Rock looked like they were losing. I don't think they dropped the lead once. And at one point they were down like 8 kills or something. Like, how's that even possible? Like,
yeah, it was stupidly hell.
Like,
they just know how to play.
They'll pick a fight where it doesn't matter if they lose, it doesn't matter, and if they win, then they take over the entire game, and they'll do that over and over again. Like, how can they manage? Like, how it looks like they're playing with like some kind of like disgusting like advantage at all times. Like, they've got cheat sheets on or something. Like, what's going on here?
Well, a really interesting thing is like if you even go back through any of their series where they fight, and then they sometimes if they lose this, like the better ones if they lose a team fight, and you just kind of look at each time they've lost team fights this year and just see what is available for the team to do from like pause the game and then just think about what they could do to take advantage of that. And very infrequently, if ever, do you see opportunities for that team to be like, oh, they could take a dragon here, they could take 2 turrets here.
Yeah.
They are one of the only teams that's like, oh yeah, these new death timers, we don't give a shit. We're still so good.
But then the other thing I love about them as well is they've got this really strong early game and they'll win most games in the early game. They've still got the same Rock Tigers thing they had last year where they could be 5-6k down and make a massive comeback and win the whole game as well. Still got that going for them as well. So like,
still 4 out of 5 players from the team that be like, oh, we're only down 10k. Great, we can win.
Yeah, we can still win this game. Like, so they've got it. Like, they really have got it all right now. They're such a well-rounded and complete team. Like, and yeah, Peanut has such horrendous warding stats. It doesn't matter. Like, it's the circle joke. Yeah, he's not a battle ward. He doesn't just, but the other players warding.
Tracker's knife though. Now,
yeah, so. I'm sad he's actually doing that right now. I like
I'm
this.
not. I'm actually very I think that's a positive thing. I understand the Red Smite's fun, but it's nice to see him at least be able to do that.
No,
I mean,
true.
He has warded a.
I mean, he still had
I don't know the stats,
so many kills in the second game.
He still wards a little bit, but I don't think he needs the Red Smite because he's so good. And eventually, the champion pool and jungle's going to move away from Red. Like, he's going to pretty much be you pick Green Smite or you don't jungle.
And if you're one of those people where you're like, Rock Tigers aren't that good of a team. They're only good. They're only the best team in Korea because all the other teams are crap. Like, only SKT are really good Korean team. Whatever nonsense you want to say to yourself, right?
There's 6 shit good teams right now in Korea.
Yeah, Jin Air didn't play this series badly. It's just that Rock Tigers played really well. There were multiple moments where Jin Air looked really good, and they made really smart decisions in team fights. And against any other team, they could have done what they normally do, which is, very slowly snowball it. I mean, I can't stress enough, very slowly snowball into a
very slow.
But they would have done it.
Yeah, they would have won. But
we criticized Jin Air for having a long game time. Still got a crazy high win rate. Still above a 65% win rate in Korea. And still, they get these games go to ultra late game and then still win them.
It's amazing they even got. I mean, most Rock's games end up before 30 minutes. They even
So it's not. It's part of Rock Tigers are kind of styling on people because it's kind of in Korean players will seem really well mild mannered when they do interviews. Like, oh yeah, well it's my teammates that are good and stuff like that. 100% guarantee it. They all fantasize about going to the West and styling on everybody. They love that idea. Like, and you'll watch it when you see
Yeah,
them.
they just want to go Worlds and styling on everybody.
Yeah, they want to style on people left, right, and center. They all want, because of how the mentality is. LPL players have the same kind of mentality, but it's like it's worse in the LPL in the sense of like they'll style against opponents that are better than them. So obviously it doesn't work out. But when Korean teams know that they're better than their counterpart, they'll start trying to style on them.
Oh yeah.
Which is sometimes how you
Just
see
look
like
at Samsung when they won Worlds.
Yeah, you'll see these disastrous like one side, like you'll see these weird upset victories and stuff like that. So Rox Tigers, like looking at the losing early skirmishes to Jin Air and stuff like that, is not a sign that they're a bad team or that this is a weakness in them. It's just that this is them just kind of going, oh, we'll just have a bit of a break, see how much fun. You can see they're all laughing and multiple throughout the game anyway. Like they don't look like they're worried for a second.
That second game, the pick, the draft they had is just like you, unless you're getting picks, you fucking lose instantaneously. You have no team fight. You have Quinn, Ash, and Nidalee, and you can't team fight with all three of those.
Yeah. And like they do this other thing as well, where like because of the way they sort of they play, like they're quite innovative in the champions they bring out, which is caused like you've seen the Nocturne being played in more regions now by more teams. Like I don't think Nocturne's a good jungle pick, but people are just picking it anyway because they're like, oh, the Tigers did it, we have to do it ourselves. Like this, like there's something about when you watch them play League of Legends that is just incredibly beautiful because they're playing the game to like the peak level it can be played at right now, kind of thing. Like they're so good.
That Nocturnes are really bad. Clearlove played it very well with a specific comp designed around it. Peanut played it okay. Didn't really do much, and then he got some kills. He got some kills with it. And he's like, okay, I can see where this is good. I have my kills. I have my farm. I can pretty much kill anything now. And then you've seen it a couple times in the West, and it's like, wow, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But I have one thing to say is that we continued last year all throughout the summer. We were talking about how there's 3 teams that are good. And then you had Jin Air, you had Najin, and you had Samsung. All 3 of them kind of.
CJ, dude.
Sorry, CJ.
Yeah, Samsung was still
because CJ wasn't
up.
really in the top 3. Yeah, you had those kind of 4 teams.
Wait.
Well, no, in the summer.
Yeah, I'm talking
last
about
year's summer. You had.
They still were there somehow.
Jin Air, Samsung, and Najin were not as good as the other teams, and you had CJ kind of depending on how they played. Either up with KT, SKT, and Tigers, or down with others.
Regardless of
now
how we
legitimately have 6 good teams, and then CJ's looking for a team that, like we expected to be 9, just above EM Fire, looks pretty good. This is way more competitive, outside of Rox Tigers, who just completely dominate everyone.
In a sense, it's like we've returned. It's like we've returned to that era in like League of Legends in like Season 3 and Season 4, where you could make an argument that the best like 6 teams in the world were all Korean kind of thing. You can make that argument now. The only team I see on the level of those 6 teams that we mentioned is Chaogu in China. That's it. Like all the other teams look like they've got serious weaknesses. Like the European teams look like they've got serious weaknesses. The Immortals look like they've got weaknesses. It just doesn't look like anyone's really worked out. I'm sorry, yeah. If your support player's playing Soraka every game, right?
They only play Soraka and Jenna. That's absurd. It's not even meta.
Yeah, I'll say if you're not playing the top 5, 8 like support champions, you're not being exploited.
Adrian is very good on Soraka and Janna. There is no way that he'll pick Janna or Soraka against like I don't know, SKT for example, and they'll be like, we never saw this pick coming. We can't defeat it. They'll have tried it. They'll do that. They'll see a pick in another region. They'll try it, and then they'll go, "Oh, this doesn't work. Let's not bother with it anymore." Kind of thing, like, you know. So, yeah, like this is seriously like Korean League of Legends right now is a peak in terms of like comparatively to the rest of the world. It's got like all the teams to kind of have like a very like obviously some are on the decline, some are on the ascent and stuff like that. I still think SKT are going to go to IEM Worlds and body it, and that's going to show how strong LCK is right now. Is because the top, you know, a team that can't even manage to be top 5 in LCK and is dropping series to bottom of the barrel teams can still go foreign and body international teams. You know,
it's
going to be very interesting because they're all so close, and it is really nice to see them kind of
like
close to each other.
The 2 to 6 are very close to each other in terms of like the difference between 5th and 6th isn't non-existent, and the difference between 5th and 4th is non-existent. They all take series off each other and stuff like that. Obviously, Rocks Tigers are a cut above, but that doesn't mean that the other teams are bad, as it were. Like, and it's like NLCK, right? You have the best players, you have the best teams, like has everything right now, kind of thing. You know, like, you can make an argument that the top 3 players of every role, there's at least 2 out of 3 of them are in Korea right now.
Yes.
Yep.
I think the only one we can't make that argument isn't the case is AD Carry.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, well, I mean, AD Carry still works best with their team. So, I don't know. Does AD Carry matters a lot less? It's
That's all.
AD Carry serve a function now rather than a rather than a role.
Yeah, and the Korean AD Carries function very well, so that's all they need to do.
So, anything else about that series?
It's enjoyable to watch.
It was, very enjoyable to watch. I think Jin Air can be proud of how they played in that series, and because it showed Jin Air like A, what they need to do to improve, but B, they had moments where they looked like they were pretty good. A lot of their players are quite individually good right now. They look like they've got a good grasp on the meta. If you're a Jin Air fan, feel good, because this is the first time in a long time that Jin Air have legitimately looked like they might be able to make the finals. You know what I mean?
That's true.
When you look at the top 6 teams in Korea, Jin Air are the only ones that have never made an LCK final or an OGN final.
Yep.
In fact, they've never even made a semi-final, except for the default one they got in spring of last year.
Oh yeah.
But
no, that was not Jin Air, dude.
That was
CJ.
Yeah, they've never even made the semi-finals, and yet this is the time where they look like a lock for the semi-finals. Obviously, no team's a lock because we're only halfway through the fucking season right now.
Yeah.
Well, Rocks is a pretty good lock.
Yeah. But
even though it's only
like, if you're a Jin Air fan, you want them to be internationally relevant. This is the first time in a long time I'm like, yeah, that could definitely happen right now.
Unfortunately, they're not going to.
Definitely looking bright for them.
And
when
you know the dog shit budget that Jin Air runs off of, the coaches there are performing some fucking wizardry, I'll tell you that much. Like, it's fucking. But the main sponsor is a fucking budget airline that only flies to 3 places. Like, what kind of fucking incredible shit are you performing?
Oh, Jin Air.
Jin Air right now reminds me of StarCraft 2's prime StarCraft 2 team, how like they had no money but seemingly did manage to do pretty well. Like, what is this?
So now we have the true issue with SKT Africa, where how can you explain a loss to a team this poor, like this bad?
You can't. I don't think
this series more than like I mean, I can Longzhu's mostly because Longzhu's okay, pretty good. They were playing very good, and then the idea was just weird. But this series was like they were trying just a lot of stuff that seems meta-ish, but like only they seem to like do that stuff. And like then Bang came out to the Rumble, which did like it was like they're trying to put Bangy somewhere, but he doesn't. Like, when you play Graves, you want fucking impact from Graves. It's like Lyra just like hard carried like that second game like so badly because he got a lead on Graves and then was able to effectively like delete people with it and be a monster.
The thing is that Bangy played Graves, Rumble Graves, and Elise and Rek'Sai were not banned either time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're putting him on the stuff that they expect him that other people play, but he's not like doing the things you should do. Like, you could just keep giving him Rek'Sai and Lisa. I still think they're more than viable picks where he can be effective on and just be pressure lanes with those picks instead of trying to let him play champions he's not comfortable with, or at least doesn't seem to like be comfortable with, because he builds the things he needs to build, but like
he doesn't do anything with them.
Yeah, that's the point. He doesn't.
Like his Graves runs around and clears wards out. That's not what Graves is for. Like I would rather see him on Lee Sin than on fucking Graves.
Same.
he at least managed, he at least understands the job of Lee Sin in a sense. I'd rather see him on Rek'Sai, of course, than Graves. Like, I don't understand why LCK teams have stopped playing Rek'Sai. I still think Rek'Sai is really good, and it especially fit Bengi's playstyle. Like, that is a champion designed for Bengi. And
is that there's a meta changing, and he's going to have at least 3 or 4 junglers he can play. Why are you in the last game you're playing of this other patch? Are you not just like, shit, Elise is open, give it to him?
Yeah. Like, Bengi's champion prioritization should be Elise, then Rek'Sai, then, like, Lee Sin, and then Graves. Like, he shouldn't be like.
Nunu could even be up there before fucking Graves.
Well,
Nunu's bad, but
why he's not playing Nunu is a whole fucking other question. You could get an ambition to play Nunu while you're at it as well. He's a pretty nifty Nunu player when he wants to be. The only player you don't want to see on Nunu is like Chaser or fucking Peanut. Like putting one of those two on Nunu is a bit of like a. Imagine Peanut on Nunu. What a sad thing that would be. Like.
But he would flash ice ball, man.
I would say he would still style. It'd be hilarious.
Flash Yeti slap.
That's the best. Just giant balls. Blind red buff. It's important. And then you have the whole issue with Faker playing Lulu with weird comic. He does good. Like his performance in the game is always good, and I'm not playing Faker. It just feels like they're forcing the team to always play that same kind of style, but they don't seem to know how to effectively win with it on a consistent pace. Like what to actually do with it. They seem to have to win the lane hard, and then just the team fighting with it is questionable a lot of times, and they fall behind it. Like don't really seem to know what to do with it.
SKT default to weird champions, and they don't look like they've got this killer instinct and this undying thirst to win games. They look like at the moment they're just going through the motions. They turn up, they play some games. Oh well, go home.
I mean,
they don't even look that bummed out when they lose. Like,
oh no, they do. Apparently, they looked very mad when they lost to Africa.
Well, I'm fucking.
They fucking better be if they're lost to Africa. They better be.
So when we saw SKT play EM Fire and they nearly lost, and it was a complete shit show from start to finish. Right? The next time we saw them against KT, they kind of bounced back and they looked really good again. Right. You can only hope as an SKT fan that this Africa series is a massive wake-up call. They don't just need to bounce back for one series; they need to bounce back for the entire rest of this thing. Because SKT objectively should be looking to finish this series in this split in third place. When you think about the prestige and the history,
well, they're never going to make first anymore, but second should definitely be.
They should, their goal coming into it should have been we should finish in first. Now, obviously, that has slipped them. But now their goal absolutely we should be looking to play second. They're probably the only team that's taken a legitimate game off the Rocks Tigers.
KT did. Yep.
Oh wait, yeah, no, actually no, KT did. There's the other thing as well. Why are KT not wanting to do better?
Well, but KT is the whole other ball game in my opinion. They're just individually.
I think their also issue is just can Peekaboo come back yet?
Chani and stuff.
Well, this is a big question because KT fans like to go, oh well, can Peekaboo come back? Can Peekaboo come back? Peekaboo is just as likely to rejoin SKT as he is to join KT.
Yeah, I mean Wolf's struggling too.
Mm-hmm. That would help actually SKT a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just as likely to join SKT as he is to join KT. As history with both those teams.
And one pays better.
Yeah, and one pays a bit more than the other one. He joined KT because SKT said they didn't want to play him anymore.
Yeah.
Remember. So do it. If you're a KT fan out there, don't be like, oh, when Peekaboo comes back, it'll all be sorted. It was just as likely.
I don't think he's going to come back. I'm just like, I hope he comes. Like, if I was them, I'd be like, I hope not. Oh, please. I know he's going to come back eventually.
Peekaboo will 100% make an appearance in the summer split, because of his wrist issue and whatever. And he doesn't strike me as the kind of player who wants to play League of Legends all the time as well. When you watch him in interviews, he's quite sort of composed and quite relaxed kind of thing. He looks more like he's one of those guys who only wants to play League of Legends professionally for 6 months every year and body for 6 months, then fuck off again, take a holiday.
To me, he's the person that would if it was back to Champions format, when it's OGN, I think he'd play all the time. I think he just wants to play. He doesn't want to have to play Africa. He doesn't want to have to play EM Fire or the Monsters. He doesn't want to have to play these garbage teams. And if he does have wrist injuries and issues with that, he's like, I'm not fucking wasting 6 months to play like 8 games against garbage teams.
Only making it worse for his wrist.
So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back. Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to come back. What team he comes back on? That'll be very, very interesting. So, anything else to say about these games? Pretty depressing. The game 3 was.
Don't give Callista to Sangyun and stuff.
Oh yeah, Sangyun is like the only. He really only is good on Callista, but if you playing Faker on Lulu and he goes that Frost Queen's Claim Lichbane build, you need to ward the fuck out of his blue so he can keep it. He never got blue that game, really.
When we have our mid-season awards, we'll give the award for the best player of each role, and we'll also give an award for the worst player of each role. Sanyu, he's going to win the worst day.
He's already going to look for the worst.
No, I've got a different candidate, but it doesn't really count because he's not playing the position. But
no, that doesn't count.
I'd say Hippo counts as the worst, but he's playing top.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least play.
He's
best 80 carry Cougar.
he's already competing for the Long Panda award. Then we have the Hermes award for the worst AD carry, that kind of thing. You know.
There's a different CJ 80 carry, I would say.
No, Space was
I would say you get the Lost in Space award.
Oh yeah, that's better for it.
That's good.
Not only is it a better name, but it's really true too.
Like Africa,
Hermes is garbage too.
Africa are completely terrible across the board, but Sangyun is legitimately not a good player. Like the only reason he looks okay in some games is because there's nothing to playing AD, but obviously there's something playing AD carry. This is the easiest meta for poor AD carries to perform in my opinion, that we've seen in a long time.
Callista is like the training wheels AD carry.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know how to kite? No. Congratulations, it's built into your kit.
Yes. So yeah, but it is bad that SKT lost to Africa, and I really, really hope that this motivates them to improve, because I don't think I think this is the first time Africa have taken a game off a team. No, in fact, how many games have Africa won this season? Hold on a second. They have won 3 series.
3. Spanu, EM Fire, SKT.
Right.
They beat the 2 teams below them, and then
one of those is not like the other.
Yes. They have the same record as. No, they don't. They actually don't have the same record as Hongbu anymore. But yeah, legitimately, very, very worrying that they lost this.
I mean, like, you see Samsung play just constantly the same strong champions that our player are comfortable with. Like aggressive one, they like crown body people, and then I was like, yeah, Faker has played Lulu a lot, and we need Duke to always play Gangplank, and then somehow that works with Lulu for some reason, which I don't get. It's like zero synergy, those 2 picks, and then like, I don't know, their whole big band is just so weird, so freaking weird. And Wolf gets Ulcer every game, but it's not like Gorilla every game. It's just.
They don't give Bengi a lease when it's up all the games, so.
That I don't get because Elise is so good still.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last series, I really don't care. Spenu Samsung. I mean, Samsung looked good. Spenu looked not good.
I mean,
caused eighth appearance, and that's pretty much all that needs to be said.
Game 1, Crime just did the same thing against Celson as he did against Sky. Just started solo killing him from the beginning. Ambition tried to be helpful sometimes, which was.
That first game was horrendous, where like Crown solo killed Assassin like 7 times, and then like had like double his gold by the end of the game. Like
he had like 4 times his damage by the end of the game.
That's the kind of performance that makes the other guy want to retire. Like.
And then Assassin was like, okay, I'm playing Valkos again.
Yeah.
This is my
it's
champion.
like, oh right,
Valkos
is like the permanent Xerath of end of summer, beginning of end of spring.
He's the only one that plays it.
Yeah.
I just mean it's his Xerath, where it's like you can do well, but you blow the fuck up.
He didn't even do well. Like it was. Meh. He just farmed.
He survived. Hey, did he die multiple times? Solo killed late?
No, but
I think not. Did better.
No,
Did
but
better.
LeBlanc was banned, dude. LeBlanc was banned, or he would have.
Yeah, I know.
That was the worst part, was the fact that he died so many times on Ari, which is such a safe mid laner anyway, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, but LeBlanc, dude.
Oh yeah, I get the LeBlanc Ari matchup is not in favor of the Ari at all, kind of thing. But it shouldn't be going that badly.
No, it should go pretty evenish.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Ari's
It's like the LeBlanc of old that jumps in and silences you for 10 years. Just throw a charm in her face when she jumps on you. They're fucking nerfing Ari. Consider OP.
Oh. Alright. Yeah. It was a good series for Samsung.
I think that's pretty much it for the games at the moment. So, any special topics you guys want to jump into, or?
Well, we kind of touched on it a bit, but the CJ Entus, I think this LCK season has been a season of surprises in the sense that Jin Air have surprised, Samsung have surprised. Well, I kind of thought Samsung would do pretty well. I think people would, but like
they're doing better though.
If you go back and you look at people's like week 1 power rankings, nobody has it right. Nobody has the fucking power rankings bang on kind of thing. Like nobody,
No.
you know, based on where it will likely be at the end of the first half of the split, nobody has that even like close to right. People overrate Afrika and Spenu massively.
I actually had those right though, like
Yeah.
kinda right.
People underestimated
It's been slower than expected.
Dramatically. Now, the exciting thing about the CJ Entus roster is they actually have now a 9-man roster. So they're only one spot. The only player they don't have a sub for is Mad Life. Obviously, he's the team captain and
He's a fucking
the franchise
playing
CJ
so
Entus
good,
player as well. Now they have had a sub for Mad Life in the past, but
well, I mean, he has had an incredible resurgence this year.
yes, Mad Life is playing the best League of Legends I've ever seen him play.
Well,
Kramer's- Okay,
In 2 years. In 2 years. It's an eternity in esports.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
in the entire considering the length of some players is like career for some players is like 2 years. He's playing, the best League of Legends player he's ever played in the latter half of his career at least. And then we think Kramer's performing really well. They've got Ghost as well, who's apparently meant to be quite good. Again, I think some of the Ghost hype is on the same vein as like the BDD hype. Is like, oh well, they've got one promising 16-year-old. The other 16-year-old they've got must be good as well. I'm a bit reserved about Ghost's ability to play League of Legends, but he could be pretty good. And then BDD, again, I'm not as sold on the hype as other people are, because people said the same thing about Scout until we saw him play, and then everybody jumped straight off the Scout hype train. Now, I do think Scout performed all right in the one Lulu game we saw him play, but again, that was Lulu.
Yeah, but I mean,
issue I have with Scout
has to replace Faker, and BDD has to replace Sky, who needs replacement badly.
Not only that, but like Scout came in and he played. It looked like every game he played, he looked afraid. Everything he did just seemed like he was not sure he was doing it, and that I think is a big issue. If BDD can come in, and if he doesn't make like, oh my god, he's amazing, but as long as he plays and it's like you can see a confidence within inside of him playing it, I think they should be looking good for summer, and that's what they should be looking at.
Yeah, for sure.
Is trying to really break the top 5, top 6.
Even if they make playoffs, they're not going to do much in the playoffs.
No.
But it would be some good extra practice and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I said this at the start, so we'll call this one. As I said that because CJ took the Nudge, they took Reach and Kane from Najin, so they effectively absorbed like part of the Najin coaching staff. Reach has a very good track record for spotting talent and then developing that said talent. And it's something that no one can take away from Najin in their
using the talent is another thing.
I was gonna say the issue there is that he doesn't always know when to use that talent that he has fostered.
But he is very good at finding talent and developing it. We have seen that from the CJ Entus players in the sense that we have seen the talent that they have been developed very, very well, and a lot of these players have really developed. Even Bubbling looks better than he did in his first couple of games.
Not great, but
still not great. But yeah, it was
still not great. I mean, it would be difficult for him to look worse, but it wouldn't be entirely implausible for him to look the same as he did. Even he's looked better. So my point is that how high is this CJ Entus roster going to go when we know that they've got a very talented mid laner just sitting on the bench, ready to come in, and then they've also got a second AD carry as well, and then they've got a veteran jungler that they've recalled. Like I say, recalled. They've rehired.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, Daydream was dropped for Ambition Jungle. Bit of a bizarre decision. Coach Kang, the old CJN's coach, is now the coach.
Considering Daydream's play at the time,
yeah,
not a fucking bad idea.
Well, Ambition Jungle though.
I would have taken literally anybody. I would have taken someone off the street.
Disgustingly bad at the beginning.
But my point is that this CJN's roster, I think, if there was any team to keep an eye on and any team that could, as the year goes by, like you think about the run that KT made in the improvement that we saw in KT last year when they went from, not even making the playoffs to then being like a top 2, top 3 team in Korea by the end of summer. I think if you wanted to, if there was a team I would pick to do that kind of thing that wouldn't make the playoffs in the spring but would make the playoffs in summer and do very well in the playoffs in summer, it would be CJN's.
Yeah, of course, but it seems logical because of what they have on their bench right now.
The only team I would say is the LZ. Longzhu could probably make a huge tear and
really.
But I mean, Longzhu will probably.
I think Longzhu will make playoffs this.
I mean, if there's only 5, then somebody has to drop out. So
yeah,
it's weird.
I think it's Samsung or Jin Air is going to drop out.
I actually think KT.
I don't think you can keep SKT.
Wait,
I think SKT and KT will make it. To be honest.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
That's the thing right now.
KT could drop out.
When you look at those top 6 teams, it is really difficult to go which one's not going to make the playoffs because one of them has to fall short. Which one is it? It isn't an easy thing to kind of predict. You know what I mean? Like, this is why it's kind of exciting in Korea. Now, I still would rather we actually had 6 playoff spots in Korea and we got to see them all in a really long playoff format. But you get what you have to deal with what you're given.
Kespa, give me a ring.
Or
don't, and just listen and take my idea. I'm fine with that too. I don't really give a shit. Just take the idea.
Well, we know the president of Kespa watches this show, so I'm sure he's on the phone right now as we speak. But yeah, I just think
instead of getting a call from what is that guy? Midweek LCK or what's that? The
weekly
in between
LCK.
each
Weekly LCK, the LCK.
Weekly LCK guy, yeah.
With the hilarious intro parody that they did.
If he can call the Kespa or OGN like president, he should if he's watching that fucking thing, he should watch this.
Well, he called the executive producer of OGN.
Okay,
I think
whatever.
He was pretty boring.
It's high enough. Yeah, that was great. But
so so yeah, I just think that the CJ is an exciting team. And if you stuck by CJ Entus, like now, you should feel really good about yourself as a fan because I think you proved like you are actually quite a dedicated fan. Because I think all the bandwagon of CJ Entus, they left a fucking long time ago. So I think if you're still CJ Entus right now, feel proud right now.
I'd say they left when they became CJ.
Yeah. Nah, they stay because Mad Live and Striver still like.
Yeah, so feel proud.
They're probably still staying.
Oh, bandwagoners left because that was when they weren't doing so hot. Bandwagoners went to Samsung and SKT at that point. But another interesting thing I just want to note is that if you look at the MVP ratings at the moment, 4 out of the 5 are top laners. And I think that has something to say about how the top lane has pretty much become a carry zone. Yet we still don't see that kind of moving out to other regions. We have Smeb, Trace, Duke, Someday are 4 of the top 5, and then Peanut. But like, I mean, it's fucking Peanut, and that kid when he makes plays, he gets really exciting plays. So.
I love the fact that Prey is the only one on the Tigers to never win an MVP vote. Like,
well, it's not a surprise that you.
That's what you get when you play Ashe.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, you hit an arrow, great.
Your team is doing everything.
In fact, that's the point. The highest AD carry on the MVP ranking is Bang at 6.
Surprising. Like,
and then
him to carry.
And then it's Arrow at like 12, but he's still got 300 points. And then like. After that, it is
Songyun tied with Arrow, 300 points.
God, Songyun.
3 Callista games.
Yeah.
Yeah, after you get to like 300 points, you can't really go too much further down because it's pretty easy to get 1 or 2. And it's very interesting to see, considering those players and what they've been playing. And if you look around other regions, you don't see the same kind of champions played. You see people defaulting back to like Malphites.
Yeah, you also don't see you also don't see the concentration of like teams built around their top laner. Like obviously Immortals, work around Huni, and like CLG, I guess to an extent, work around Darshan. Vitality kind of work around Cabochard, but like
The issue with Darshan is he's a great top laner, but he can't team fight. He just can split push. Like Smack can split push, but that motherfucker can team fight.
Yeah.
Darshan, keep up split push.
Your mic's going kind of mental, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Stop playing with it. But in a way, stop playing with it. We're still recording right now. And obviously you got flares in on Team Snake and Ziv on AHQ as well. But
Flandre.
Not yet. Flandre, not Flare. I always get those two names mixed up. Oh god, that's nothing worth. Same 4 letters or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, I just think it is just. I do think it's it's part of the saturation of talent you get in LCK because majority of the good top lane talent is still in LCK right now. But I also just think it's the only league which is like a lot of these teams are still built around their top laner to carry and are still set up to facilitate their top laner in that carry threat role. And I think it's due to Korean teams understanding the meta better as well and understanding the power that top lane still has.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a bit. I think every role has solid carry potential now. Well, before you only had mid lane was season 3 was supreme, and then when top lane was completely only tank and stuff. Right now, I think every role can be worked at, but it's very easy just to do it with your top. Mostly your top laner because there's so much. But even then, they play a lot of tanks. They do a lot in the team fights. Because a lot of the top lane picks right now are very oppressive and they're very strong in team fighting. That's why so many of them get the MVPs, because if they play well with those picks, they win the team fights, and that's how they win the game. Because team fights get won by those strong top lane picks, or they win because they have good flanks and move around with Quinn and just stun on people in that way.
Yeah.
Mid laners and nade carries just damage, but top laners can impact the game and team fights on another level than just doing damage. I mean, look at Kuwait, just zones. You could do the same thing in mid Lasana, but since they play top lane all the time, you have insane zoning. Well, he locks people down or zones them first with Hourglass and then ults afterwards on himself, and stuff like that. It's what gets you P points because it just looks impressive and just wins a team fight outright instead of killing people. So
top laners in LCK are more prepared to make plays and around the teleport and around ultimates, which is inevitably what grants them the MVP vote. I also think that it's you know what? Why is it LCS still butchers the MVP system? The MVP system is so easy to execute correctly. At the end of every game, you go, right, who was the most impactful player on the winning team? It was this guy. We give him some points. They still do that. The MVP of the week award goes to.
It's family friendly. Everybody's a winner.
They've also given it to a coach, so they're miles behind.
Yeah, can you imagine the uproar if it was and the MVP of this game was Coach Kang of Africa Freaks? What the hell?
Because he did stuff.
He did a great job getting Mickey to play LeBlanc.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. Yeah. Any other topics or?
I think we want to talk about. You want to talk about Koreans potentially returning,
right?
How they currently are playing versus chance of them returning, and how they would look if they returned with their current.
So this is something.
We can talk about this a lot.
Well, yeah. Well, it's kind of
interesting.
Kind of on a different vein. So when we think about Expression and who he was as a player when he returned, and who he was as a player when he left. When Expression left, originally retired, he didn't really retire. He stepped down due to health issues. Still not 100% sure what happened there. He stepped down from Najin, Black Sword, which were they weren't performing very well in LC and Champions, but they were still performing well in OGN. And he was only 3 months away from his great performance that he had at the World Championships in season 3, where he, where they nearly managed to beat SK Telecom. So he went from being like, a really respected top laner in Korea, and then when he returned, he wasn't like, he didn't have the same respect that he carried, when he left. He also didn't look like he was in good shape anymore and that kind of thing. So it's not like he joined an immediately great team immediately. He joined Incredible Miracle and like switched from the bench between himself and Apple quite a bit, and they rotated out on the bench and that kind of thing. He had to kind of work his way back up and work his way to being a respected player in Korea again, which is why he's one of the only 2 players that managed to survive the transition from IM to Longzhu, because they got rid of all the other players. So my point is let's say someone like Save wants to make a comeback, or Piglet decides he can't be bothered with Team Liquid shit anymore and he wants to make a comeback, or
Liquid has been shit for 2 years, man. They just don't know it.
Or Spirit wants to make a comeback, or any of these players who were once really good in LCK or really good in Champions and now play in a foreign league where they're not even very respected in their foreign league. I mean, in the case of Save, apparently he doesn't even play on his solo queue accounts anymore. Like, he might have just completely quit League of Legends completely. If one of them wanted to make a comeback, I think the only way they could do it would be they would have to do what Expression did, which is join a lower team. So, like, say would have to do something like join Spenny.
Yeah, a top team won't hire them.
Yeah, so they would have to
likely hire them.
Or like in the case of Core JJ, where he wanted to come back to Korea, he joined a Samsung roster that didn't have a lot of hype around it, and now that Samsung roster is performing quite well. So I think they would have to sort of like almost start against in square one. But this is my point: is I just don't think you can count these players out from making a comeback, because I still think it's possible for them to do it. They just need to be prepared to join a worse team, spend 6 months in the trenches, and then they can maybe transfer to a better team. When all
Save could definitely replace the top laners of Spenu or Kongdu.
Yes, exactly. That's my point, I think. So like now whether or not they would, if they're, because some of these players are still on pretty good salaries on foreign teams, whether or not they would be prepared to take a salary cut is another matter. But players have done it, Fly took a salary cut, I imagine, because he went from Young Glory, which is owned by the second son of the richest man in China, to joining KT, which pays a decent amount, but and Core JJ went from Dignitas to Samsung. Samsung notoriously pay low wages in Korea. You've got that quote about their coach saying that any player asked what their salary would be on Samsung was immediately discounted from him hiring them, because he didn't want to hire players that talked about money. So I think if these players are prepared to make a sacrifice in the financial aspects, I think some of them could make a comeback, but it would have to be a slow burner. That's my point. So I think, because I think their reputation, if you go to a foreign league and you don't perform very well, your reputation almost becomes the same as a solo queue, a solo queue talent. Almost some aspects are lower because they think
it's probably lower
because they have seen you.
Yeah, because the solo queue player, there's more kind of hype around him joining. You know what I mean? So
I would also say that the solo queue player, if they're trying to go pro, they're probably putting a lot more time, effort into it. Where some of these you don't get to see them play solo, and solo queue, they're playing against worse players, and you're like, wow, you can't even beat this unnamed random person in NA.
Yeah. So I do think it's possible for some of them to do it. I just think they would need to make a bit of a kind of a sacrifice and really be prepared to start the change. So that's all I wanted to kind of discuss, was that I see things like, Save could never make a comeback, or Dade could never come back to Korea. They could. They just have to be prepared to go in at a lower level and work their way up, like Expression did, because he's the first, and like Core JJ did to a lesser extent as well.
Yeah. It's more that they would want to come back.
Yeah. But I do think players would. I do think some of them. I mean, you are seeing more and more players leave LSPL teams. Like Antara used to play for an LSPL team, and then he left that LSPL team to go join CJ Entus. Fly used to play for an LSPL team. Core JJ used to play in the NLCS. You're seeing more and more players leave foreign leagues and come and play in, LCK. Obviously, you've got Beast as well, who used to be on Snake, now plays for a Korean Challenger team. I can't remember which one, but 1 second, I'll look it up. Where is it? He plays for, I think it is, Pathos? No, not Pathos. Oh, but no, damn it, not Square either. He plays for. Oh, he plays for Dark Wolves. That's right. So he came back and now he plays for Dark Wolves, who are doing terribly, by the way. But and, you know, so I do think it's possible for you to see some of these kind of old guard players return, and I do think you'll see more and more of it, especially if they increase the slots in LCK.
Isn't that oh, now Kyle's not playing anymore. Oh wow. I don't know. I mean, there's some of the players I don't think they have real good shot at making it in, but
I mean, it all depends on their
interesting.
mentality and their drive and their desire to return. But I think if some of these players really wanted to come back, they could do it. They would just need to be prepared to start again at the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think any player that proved himself to be really good has it in him to be good again, at least to some degree. But yeah, they have to put a lot of work in it and be willing to, you know, settle with lesser teams and maybe not the same environment they're used to or the same even pay or anything, you know.
I think it'd be more interesting to see the one person, really the only Korean player I want to see come back would be Rainover. I want to see Rainover and Huni. I mean, they've pretty much dumpstered NA and EU. Again,
before the Immortals offer came in, they were both very tempted to go join CJ Entus, and him and Huni were very tempted to join CJ Entus. So
what a big shoot.
That would have been what a great team.
Yep.
I still would have won Huni benched anyway. That's me.
I still think he's
Huni is very, very
over-aggressive player, and he is one-dimensional. But if he came back to Korea, I think that he would be able to.
Rainover, yeah, I can live with. But
he'd be able to become more than just the one-dimensional player he is.
Maybe, yeah. But right now they just let him eat him. They're just feeding him that. That's also bad. Because they're just.
Rainover is the key secret to that team, but like he was the key secret to both teams he played on. His play has probably been the most interesting part of it.
Sometimes. Definitely now Immortals. Rainover.
So anything else, or should we jump to next week's picks, which is basically one game?
There are 3 games.
There's basically one game. So you have Rocks Tigers or Spenu. I'm guessing this is 2-0 for everyone around the table.
It's only like one versus KT.
Even Rocks came out in an interview and were like, we want to like perfect out the whole.
I think they're gonna pick the most stupidest shit. And still like win in under 30 minutes.
Were you ready for like Rammus top and?
I'm just hoping it.
I'm ready for like Rammus support. We said random shit.
Sure, why not?
The good game, LZ KT.
I mean,
it's 2-0 LZ.
Such a hard.
Yeah,
pick.
You kind of have to like. Well, LZ almost fucked up game 1. I think it's going to be 2-1 LZ because it's not like they can't fuck up a game.
Honestly, I think it's going to be 2-1 either way. It really depends on which LZ we see. If LZ comes in and they're not great game 1 with like they're I guess you'd say the starter roster, even though we call them the B team, you could see KT kind of pick up an easy win there. And then depending on the second and third game, you probably would see Crash, Flame, and Frozen come in, and they could get a win. But I think KT might be able to sneak at least one game off them.
Yeah, but I do think LZ is going to
win. It's highly dependent, I think, on how the form LZ have over the form KT have.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have why even bother watch, what is it, the Thursday game?
No,
I believe those the first 2 are on Wednesday.
CJ 2-0. I mean,
and you watch CJ play the Kongdu Monsters.
Well, you want to see Kongdu's new uniform, and you want to see CJ Entus if they can get a clean victory. That's the reason to watch.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
CJ will be 1 game behind SKT if they win that.
I'll wake up early for the first 2 games. Not too excited about this third game. Definitely gonna catch a
That's
vibe
the
of
day
that.
after. It's 2 days.
Definitely gonna watch it. Like this is when you want YouTube's like, hey, you don't have 4x speed or 5x speed, buddy.
You can watch anymore, dude. It's too fast. Too fast.
So, I believe that is the end. Unless there are anything else you guys wanted to throw in real quick.
Thanks for
Other
watching.
than Kespa, if you're listening, I don't want any money. Just please implement that system. It'd be fucking baller. It'd be amazing to watch an actual quality playoffs, like with just one more team. You don't even have to get too many teams. Just 6 teams. It's all you need.
Yeah, but thanks for watching, everyone. Great.
Yeah.
See you a week.
Right.